Well, first of all, I have to thank all of you for your commitment to be here. To me, it's always a great joy to see the people who make the commitment to come. I know some of you have traveled all night by train and by bus to be here, and it's that kind of commitment that's going to make the difference for you as you build your business, and I'm very grateful that you made that commitment. And one thing you can do is you can look around this room, and you'll remember sitting in this room the rest of your life, and I believe for most of you it will be a very positive experience. Unfortunately for others of you, it will be one where perhaps you chose not to continue on this path and maybe a moment of regret. But it will be a moment either way that you remember. Today what I want to do is I want to share with you some of the insights that I've learned over the last 21 years that I have been full-time in this industry. Some of the options that are available to you to build your business. Obviously, a leader in my position with this company, I have seen what everybody has done, both that has worked and that hasn't worked. And today I'm going to share with you some of the methods that have provided the greatest results for Unicity distributors around the world. All right, there are three basic options, three basic ways that you can go about building your Unicity business. The first way is what I call top-down. Top-down is where you lead with the business opportunity. Let's assume that Barry, my brother, was a prospect of mine. This is where I would call him on the phone, and I might say, hey, Barry, let's assume he's not my brother, but I might say, hey, Barry, this is Todd. How are you doing today? And we have a little small talk and exchange some pleasantries. And then I'd say, you know, Barry, as you know, I've enjoyed a successful career selling real estate. But for a number of reasons, I made the decision to diversify my income, and I began to look at other ways that I could be in business for myself and have control of my life. And I recently learned about a company that's coming into India. It's a strong U.S.-based company. They operate in 28 countries around the world. They are one of the top 100 fastest-growing businesses in the United States, and they're looking for people who will help them expand into the Indian marketplace. I don't know if what we're doing would be of interest to you, but if it's the right time in your life, I'd like to sit down with you, Barry, show you what we're doing, and see if it might be of interest to you. Okay? Now, you see with that approach, I led with the business. I didn't say anything about the product. I'm approaching him to introduce to him the business. The second way you can build your business, then I'll dive into each of these subjects in more detail, is where you lead with the product. And I call that the bottom-up approach, just kind of a lingo term. And where you might lead with the product is, let's assume again that Barry is somebody that I know has a cholesterol problem, or you know, maybe he's a diabetic. Obviously, we know that India is the diabetes capital of the world. And I might call Barry and say, Barry, I've recently learned about a product that is being brought to the Indian marketplace by a very recognized, very respected company from the United States, a company that has a history of more than 100 years, and they have a very unique product that has been clinically proven to help stabilize blood sugar levels in diabetics. I'd like to sit down with you, show you what this product can do for you, because I know as you learn more about it, you'll be very impressed. So that might be where you lead with the product. Now, again, I'll dive into each of these subjects in more detail. And then the third way is to approach people within the medical field. In the United States alone, we have thousands of healthcare and medical professionals, people who are putting their credibility and their reputation on the line, recommending our products to their family, friends, and patients. And for many of these healthcare and medical professionals, they are doing this business because they want to make a positive difference in people's lives. You know, certainly we know about the prescription medications that they can prescribe to people who have different health concerns that our products can address. But for many of these doctors, they don't feel good about recommending synthetic drugs, drugs that have side effects. And they feel a fiduciary responsibility to introduce to their patients a safe, natural alternative to these types of medications. And so as a result of that, we have attracted a great number of medical professionals. Because our products are clinically proven, because we've got studies that show the results that people can expect to experience in using our products, these doctors feel very confident in in recommending the products. And then as they begin to recommend the products and they begin to see the results with their patients, it builds their confidence, and then they obviously will begin to recommend our products much more aggressively. We've got doctors in the United States that have more than 1,000 patients using our products. And the great news about the BioSlife products are the fact that it's not a product, or they're not products that you wonder if they work. They're products that you know they work. For diabetics, they can use our BioSlife D or our BioSlife Slim. Take it before a meal, 5 to 15 minutes before a meal. Test their blood sugar after their meal, and they will notice the results after one single packet in most cases. After 2 days, they can do the fasting blood sugar test in the morning and begin to see the improvements in their blood sugars. Again, like all of our products, the longer you use them, the greater your results will be. Diabetics after 30 days, many of which are able to reduce their insulin, others able to completely eliminate their insulin. The same is true with people who have cholesterol challenges. Our products will not only lower the bad cholesterol, which is known as your LDL cholesterol, but they will also raise your good cholesterol, known as your HDL cholesterol, and they also lower your triglycerides, which is a blood fat. And again, it's not a question whether or not the product works or not, because anybody who gets their blood work done can see the results within their blood work and know by looking at the document, hey, this product works. And so again, within the medical field, there's a great opportunity for you to impact people in this country by obviously introducing it to medical professionals. Like each of these methods that I'm describing, the top down where you lead with the business, the bottom up where you lead with the product, and where you introduce the business to the healthcare field, there's pros and there's cons. So let's talk about the pros and the cons of each, and then I'm going to dive into a more in-depth discussion on each of those three methods. First of all, in leading with the business, the pros of that are that you can build a very quick business. I'll tell you my story. When I got started with this company back in 1991, I got started introducing the business to people. And my very first month, I introduced the business to 68 people. Of those 68 people, 20 of those people made the decision to team up with me and start their own business with Unicity. Of the other 48 people that chose not to participate, I sold more than 4,000 points worth of product to the people who said no. So, again, if I introduce the business to you, part of the introduction of the business, as you will see tonight during the business presentation, is an introduction of our product. So if I introduce the business to you and you determine for whatever reason that the business was not of interest to you, I would ask you, would you at least like to begin using the product? And so my very first month in the business, I introduced the business to 68 people, sponsored 20 people, but then sold product to many of those other 48 people, which is how I sold over 4,000 points worth of product to those people who told me no to the business. Now, of those people who said yes to the business, I began to work very closely with these people, helping them begin to learn our business and begin to duplicate the system that we use to build our business. And as a result of that, my very first month, I earned $8,600 US, generated more than 40,000 points in product volume. My second month, as I began to work with those people and began to work with the people they brought into the business, began to duplicate the system, my business jumped to more than 200,000 points. I earned more than 11,000 US my second month. That was before we had all these bonus programs that you now have, because if you do the math on these numbers, you would make a lot more money today with Unicity than I earned back 20 years ago. So my first month I made 8,600. My second month, 11,000 US. My third month, 15,000 US as my volume jumped to 300,000 points my third month. My first year, over 700,000 US. My first year, 300,000. My second year, 700,000. My third year, $1 million. My fourth year, $1.5 million US. My fifth year, 1.8 million. My sixth year, 2 million. My seventh year, 2.2 million. That was because I led with the business, and I taught my people how to go out and lead with the business. Now, naturally, not all these people went out and led with the business, but that was the example I set. And so there's no doubt that the fastest way to build your business is by leading with the business. Now, that's the positive. The downside is that for many people, it's a little bit scary. It's a little bit intimidating to go out and lead with the business. For a lot of people, they feel more comfortable leading with the product rather than leading with the business. So the positive of leading with the business is that you can build a very fast-growing business and you still sell product to those people who decline to participate in the business. Let's take a look at the product approach. The positive of the product approach, where you lead with the product, is that it's easy. It's easy to approach people on the product. The downside is it's slow growth. When I say slow growth, let's assume that, taking Barry as an example, I got Barry started on the product because he has a blood sugar problem. He's a diabetic. He's not really, but let's assume he was. It might be that he wants to use the product for 30 days to see how the product works for him. So after 30 days, he then says, okay, this is a great product. I say, well, Barry, would you like to know how to get your product free? He says, sure. And I tell him, well, you could become a distributor. And in the case here in India, if you buy 3 boxes of BIOS Life D, for every 2 you sell, you get yours free. Based upon the results you've had, do you think you can find 2 other people who could benefit from the product like you? He says, yeah, I know a lot of other people who are struggling with diabetes here. And so he would then become a distributor. He would then go and introduce the product to these other people. They would then say, well, I want to use the product. And then they would take 30 days to use the product. You see where this is going? And then it begins to grow. Now, the positive of leading with the product is that it's a very solid, strong way of building your business. I mean, one thing I've heard here, I've been in India since May 5th, so I've been here now for more than 2 weeks, is that there's a lot of people who go from network marketing company to network marketing company to network marketing company to network marketing company. And the reason they're going from company to company is not only because the companies are letting them down, but also because the method in which they're using to build their businesses, there's no consumption of any type of product on a monthly basis. And so unless they are bringing new people into their business, there's no money being made. And so their business, they build a business, and then they make no money on that business. If you build a solid business by leading with the product and getting people on the product who are having a positive result on that product, and they are then telling other people about the product, and they're having a positive result on the product, and those people are telling other people about the product, then now you're building a very strong business of people who are using the product, seeing results with that product, and as a result of that, they're using the product month after month after month after month after month. I've got customers who've been using this product for 15 and 20 years. Some of you may know that there was a span of about 10 years that I was not aggressively building this business, from about 2000 until I came here in March and saw the opportunity in India. I wasn't aggressively building this business. I aggressively built it early in my career, but one of the reasons I built my business aggressively was because I wanted to retire early. I was young when I got started, 28 years old. I said, I want to retire by the time I'm 40. I'm willing to work hard. I'm willing to pay the price, but I want to retire when I'm 40. So what happened? You know, I got about 40 and said, I'm making all this money. I'm living the good life. You know, I want to go golfing. I was even thinking at one point I wanted to be on the senior tour. By the time I got old enough, I wanted to play golf, and then I was out there taking these chip shots, hundreds of them every day. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a job. I don't want another job. And then I went fishing, and I got tired of fishing. And then I wrote a book, and then I came here in March and saw the opportunity, and ever since then I've been doing 4 things with my life. I eat, I sleep, I spend time with my family, and I've been building India. But my point is, during those 10 years, I averaged more than $1 million a year in earnings. I wasn't out recruiting, didn't recruit one person during that period of time, but averaged more than $1 million a year. Why? For one reason: BioSlife. People who use BioSlife and who see the results will use it the rest of their lives. Now, some of them who see great results will begin to wonder whether it's the product that really is producing those results, or maybe there's been a change in their system, and so they stop using the product. I think just about everybody goes through a phase where they stop using it just to see, are my results really because of the product, or did something happen where I no longer need the product? Well, what happens is their cholesterol levels go right back up, their blood sugars go right back up, the pounds jump right back on, and then when they go on the product the second time, they don't go off. And that's the value of a product like this, is that there is no product that I am aware of anywhere in the world that produces the results that this product produces, and as a result of that, you can build an income that will pay you the rest of your life, and when you die, it will pay your children the rest of their lives. That's the real value of offering a product like BioSlife. So, just to review, I've talked about leading with the business, which I call top-down. We talked about the positives of that is that you can build a very fast-growing business. The downside is it's a little bit scary for some people to lead with the business. We talked about leading with the product, which I call bottom-up. The positive of that is that you build a very solid business. The downside of that is that it's a slow-growth business. Now, let's talk about building the business within the medical community. The positive of building the business in the medical community is that doctors move a lot of product, more than any one of us. Those of us in the room, and let me just say this, and as the average person in my organization, last I had the company checked, did about 250 in personal volume per person, the average active person, about 250 in personal volume per month. The doctors in our business will do 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 points worth of product per month. So doctor is going to move a lot more product than the average person. The other great benefit here in India at this time is that as you get doctors who are familiar with our product and endorsing the product, they will become part of these meetings. When they come and share their testimonials, it will add credibility to our business. And so one of the things that the doctors do in the United States, and right now I would say the majority of all the people who are actively building our business in the United States are in the healthcare field. They might be a dietitian, a nurse, a medical doctor, but what they do is they add tremendous credibility to your business. So if we do a meeting in West Palm Beach, Florida, and there's 10 doctors in the room, when those doctors come and share their testimonials during a business presentation like you will see tonight, all the guests in the room are saying, wow, look at the doctors who are endorsing these products, and it builds credibility. I have been, as I've said, in India since May 5th, meeting with a lot of people. One of the questions a lot of people ask is, well, are the medical doctors here in India recommending this product? And my answer is, not yet. We just started shipping product last week. So one of the advantages that we all have here today is the opportunity of being first. For those of you who are entrepreneurs, for those of you who can see yourself leading a large organization, I'm telling you, there is no time better than right now. Yes, there are going to be bumps in the road. Yes, there are things that we need to work out as we grow and develop this company in this market. But for those of you who've got the vision, for those of you who feel that you can lead an organization, for those of you who want to be first, those of you who can see that here's the chance for you to be first with a company and not have the risk that would normally be associated with the startup business, now is that time. So the positive of building the business with medical doctors is they add credibility and they move a lot of product. The downside is they ask a lot of questions, and they make my head hurt. That's why I personally have never recruited a doctor. I've got thousands of them in my downline, but I've never recruited one doctor. They want to know all the clinicals, and then they're asking all these complicated, what's the H2, B3, 5, 7, 3, what's that minus this and this? And I'm like, holy cow, man, my head hurts. So when you approach entrepreneurs, when you approach business people, when you approach people who are going to build a business, they want to know about a little bit about everything. The doctors want to know a lot about one thing. They want to know a lot about the product. The other side of the doctors or the medical field is that in most cases they don't go out and duplicate, and they never go full-time. So many of the people that I have brought into my business are working this business full-time. They start part-time, their income grows, and they go full-time. Of all the doctors in the United States, not one has left their medical practice, even if they're making $20,000 US a month. Not one has left their medical practice to build their Unicity business full-time. So they don't go full-time. And most of them just sell the product out of their practice. They don't go out and introduce the business to other people. Most of them don't. Some of them do, but most of them don't. So, again, there's the pros, the positives, and then there's the cons. So, now that we have a conceptual understanding of the three different ways that you can go about building your business, let's dive into each one of those a little bit further, okay? Let's take a look, first of all, at building your business, what I call, again, top-down, leading with the business. Let me share with you my story of how I did that, okay? Part of my story is going to represent the value that a sponsor plays. Again, after being in India as long as I have, one of the things that I've seen is that the number one challenge here in India in the network marketing industry is, well, there's a number of them, but one of which is a lack of training. Even our consultant, who is the head of the Indian Direct Selling Association for 12 years, is the first to say, and it's well-known fact here in India, there's not a lot of training. It seems that the value that people place on their business is counting how many people join their business, not how much volume is being moved in their business, not how much money is being made in their business. And so let me first say this, and that is that the number one waste of time, the number one waste of time is sponsoring the wrong people. Sponsoring the wrong people means sponsoring people who really don't have the desire to build a business. One word I hear all the time here is, will you talk to this person and convince them? It's like convince is the popular word. Will you convince them to buy this product? Will you convince them to join this business? And my response is, I don't convince anybody. I have made 23 million US dollars and I have not convinced one single person. My goal is I'm looking for people who have a need, desire, or concern that I believe this business can address. You don't want people in your business who don't have a need, a desire, or a concern this business can address. I met with somebody in Hyderabad, and he said his dad has joined Amway 16 times. I did the math. I said, Amway's only been here 15 years. How did he join 16 times? I said, why did your dad join Amway 16 times? And he said, because my dad can't tell people no. And so his dad joins Amway and never does anything. Don't sponsor anybody who's not going to do this business. Don't measure your success by having somebody who completes an application and becomes a Unicity distributor. If they're not going to build this business, they are a waste of your time because you can't push a rope. You know, take a rope. Imagine pulling a rope. Now imagine pushing a rope. You can't push a rope. I promise you this. I promise you, you will never be successful in this business by convincing people to do something that they don't want to do. One of the things I've done is I wrote a book. a book on personal development, a book that teaches people many of the things, the lessons that I've learned over my career. It's called Little Things Matter. The first lesson in the book is what's important to you. I have learned that people will only do the things that are important to them. If something is not important to somebody, they won't do it. If somebody doesn't have a desire to build this type of a business for the rewards that this business can provide, if they don't have that desire, they won't do this business. And if you try to convince people that don't have the desire for what we can offer, if you try to convince them to do this business, you will put an unnecessary strain on your relationship. You will put tension on your relationship with your people and your friends. And then when they see you, they're going to be like this. Let me stay away from him. He's in that unicity business. He's always trying to convince me to do that unicity business. Once I introduce this business to people, guess what? They know what I do. When I meet them out socially, I'm friendly, I'm nice, and I never try to pitch them again on the unicity business. They know what I do. I don't need to say, hey, you ready to do the unicity business now? No, they know what I do. We have small talk. Sometimes they'll say, hey, how's that going? I say, it's going great. I tell them about my results. Many people have joined me 1 year, 5 years. I even had one person join me 10 years after I originally introduced them to the business. 10 years later, they joined me in the business. And so if you treat people with respect, if you treat people the same way you'd want to be treated, they're going to see that that's what they would do. And they're going to say, I can do that. Network marketing is not something where you go and put pressure on people to join who have no interest in joining. No, that's not what Todd did with me. And that will be an attraction to them because people don't want to put pressure on their friends to do things. So, I share that with you. Let me tell you my story of how I got started in this industry. I very simply responded, believe it or not, to an ad in a newspaper. When I responded to the ad, I called the person on the phone and I said, I'm responding to the ad in the newspaper. Can you tell me what it is that you do? He responded, his name was Bill. He said, Todd, what I'm doing is not something that can be explained over the phone. I'd be happy to sit down with you and show you what I do. Okay? There's a lot of lessons that are going to come out of this, and I'm going to highlight them as we go. He said, I'm not prepared to explain this to you over the phone. I'll need to sit down and show you, that's the key word, show you what I do. Because you can't show somebody something over the phone. I need to sit down and show you what I do. So I said this, is it network marketing? You guys in India often refer to it as MLM or multi-level marketing. In the United States, we mostly refer to it as network marketing. I said, is it network marketing? He said, Todd, it's like nothing you've ever seen before. Would you like to sit down and meet with me so I can show you what we're doing? And I said, well, let me ask one more question. Is this Amway? He said, it's not Amway, it's not Shackley, which is another very big company in the United States. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. Would you like to sit down with me and learn what I'm doing? I said, okay. So I met with him. So now before I go forward, let me just kind of point out some lessons here. One, he didn't get any details about what he did. Perfect invitation. He controlled himself from answering questions. I asked him if it was network marketing. He didn't go, kind of. He said, it's like nothing you've ever seen before. And so he invited me correctly. Remember this, the beginning of the duplication process begins with the invitation call. This whole business is a business of duplication. I estimate that I have more than 500,000 people, 5 lakh, have joined my business organization over my career around the world. This whole business is about duplication. Okay? That's one important critical principle that you will need to take out of today, and between this training and the one you're going to hear tonight, is this whole business is a business of duplication. You are the example. What you do is what your people will do. This isn't about what I stand on the stage and teach when I come to India, or what Yoga will teach when he stands on the stage. Your business is up to what you do, not what your people read, not what they hear, not what they see anyone else do. It's based upon what you do. Going back to the story. So, we met. He had a presentation book almost identical to this one here. He sat down and he started turning the pages. He started walking me through the business. And by the way, for those of you who are here today, this is a point of reference, is a leadership training. Tonight we have a business presentation from 7 to 8. We have then a basic training that follows that. So this today, right now, during this time we're together, is a leadership training. So this book here is our corporate profile booklet. This is going to be included in all the starter kits. When I say not the black part, but just the pages, it'll be a booklet. Now you can take that booklet, cut it with the scissors so that you can put the pages within here so that it'll last a long time. If you take the corporate profile that the company is going to send you in the starter kit and you just use it as it is, it's going to get smashed, it's going to get dirty, it won't last very long, and then you're going to have a messed up, dirty presentation book. So that's what I recommend. So he opened this nice binder and he started turning pages and introduced me to that company. Sure enough, halfway through the presentation, I realized it was network marketing. But he had intrigued me. He had interested me. So here I was, a person who had a negative perception of network marketing, all of a sudden started to change. I started to get interested because of what that company was doing. This was a company I got started in May of 1990 until September of 91 when I joined Unicity. So the story I'm sharing with you is with my first company. I've been with Unicity since September of 91. So we went through the presentation book, and he said, do you have questions? I had questions. He answered them. And then he invited me, so that was my first introduction. I wasn't ready to make a decision. He invited me to come to a presentation like what will be taking place tonight, where I was able to see other people who were part of the business. It built my confidence. It built my belief. I was able to hear stories of people who were in that company who were succeeding. I was able to hear stories of people who were using that product and having positive results, and my confidence grew. He then talked to me after that meeting and says, Todd, would you like to get started? And I said I would. So we scheduled a time the next day where we met. And at that time, he sponsored me into the business. He then sat down and reviewed with me the steps to getting started. He talked to me about my goals, what my commitment was to my business, talked to me about the importance of making a list of the people that I knew, and he put together a plan with me. Here's was the plan. He said, Todd, next Thursday, are you available? And I said, yes. He said, next Thursday, I want to come to your home, and I want to do a presentation for 10 of the sharpest, most successful people you know. That's how we're going to get your business started quickly. He said, is that okay? I said, yes. He said, Todd, I need to know this. I need to know, are you going to waste my time? I said, no, I'm not going to waste your time. He said, I'm going to come down from Milwaukee. I lived in Chicago, so Milwaukee was about a 2-hour ride in the car. I'm going to come down from Chicago. And if you don't have 10 of the sharpest, most successful people you know in front of me, I won't be back. I said, okay. He said, okay, so now let's talk about how you invite. First of all, we placed my product order. We placed my sales aid order. We talked about my goals. We talked about why I wanted to leave real estate. We talked about making my list, and he told me to make a list of everybody I knew, to not prejudge anybody, to put myself on a scale of 1 to 10 at a 5, and he wanted me to focus on recruiting 5s and up. Okay, so if on a scale of 1 to 10 you're a 5, focus on recruiting people at your level and up. So at that point, he said, now Todd, here's how you invite. When you call people, remember how I invited you? Think about this. He's going back to now his reference to how he invited me. Perfect example. Remember when I invited you, I created curiosity and interest. So the first C, he said, is to create curiosity and interest. Never get into details about the business or the product. Second, he said, control yourself from answering questions. Do you remember the questions you asked me, Todd? I said, yes. He said, you remember? You asked me, first of all, if it was network marketing. And what did I say? I said, Bill, you told me that this was unlike anything I'd ever seen before, and that if I wanted to know what you were doing, I would need to meet with you. He goes, yes, and that's exactly what you're going to do when people ask you questions. No matter what question it is, your response is, this is not a business that can be explained over the phone. I need to sit down and show you what I'm doing. So think about this. He taught me how to invite by his example. He reinforced how to invite by his teaching. He said, so you create curiosity and interest, you control yourself from answering questions, and then you get a commitment from them to come to your home. Okay? Now, when I say you create curiosity and interest, remember my invitation I recommended a few minutes ago, one that all of you can use. Think about what you do. Think about why you're here today. All of you made a decision on a Saturday to come here. There's a reason that you came here. I bet for most of you it wasn't because somebody made you come here. You came here because there's a reason you want something out of what this business can offer you. You made sacrifices in your day to be here. So there's a reason. So what is that reason? Maybe that's part of your invitation. Maybe that's part of your story. So for me, my background in real estate, I didn't want to sell real estate the rest of my life. I didn't want to deal with the pressure of being a real estate agent the rest of my life. So my invitation, if I was in India today, would be what I said earlier. And that is that, hey, Barry, this is Todd. How are you doing? He says, great. I said, Barry, have you got a quick minute? He says, yes. I said, Barry, the reason I'm calling is because, as you know, I've enjoyed a successful career in real estate. But I've reached a point in my career where I've made the decision that I don't want to sell real estate the rest of my life. As I considered my options, I made the decision that I wanted to be in business for myself. And as part of my due diligence in determining what business was right, I considered a lot of different businesses. But recently I learned about a company from the United States, a company that operates in 28 countries around the world, a company that is one of the top 100 fastest growing privately held businesses in the United States, and they're opening India. They're offering an extraordinary opportunity for people who want to be in business for themselves. I don't know if what I'm doing would be of interest to you, but I'd like to sit down with you, show you what I'm doing, and see if maybe this would be of interest to you. Would you like to sit down and have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and take a look at what this company is doing and what they're offering to people here in India? Okay? See how I didn't write that down. That's just kind of a curiosity creating approach. You notice how I didn't get anything about the product. Now, we can say that, hey, there's a great need and demand for a product in India that addresses heart disease and diabetes and obesity. And who wouldn't be interested in learning about a product like that? There's a lot of people that wouldn't be interested. Everybody who's young would say, I don't even know what cholesterol is. I don't even know if I got a cholesterol problem. I don't have diabetes. So all of a sudden people start prejudging the business. If you tell them anything about the business, they're going to prejudge the business. I guarantee you, if you allow people to prejudge the business on the phone, many of those won't agree to meet with you. The more interest and curiosity you create in your approach, the more likely they are to agree to meet with you. And the more people that you meet with, the more people you will sponsor. And the more people you sponsor, the more people will build the business. And the more people that you have build the business, the more people you will have that are going to be successful in building the business. And the more people that you have that are successful in building a business, the more money you're going to make, the more lives you're going to impact through our business and through our product. Going back to the story. Create curiosity and interest was the first C, he told me. Control yourself from answering questions was the second C. And get a commitment was the third C. He said, Todd, as you invite people to your home next Thursday night, I don't want you to mistake what a commitment is. When somebody tells you they're going to do their best to be there, they're going to try to rearrange their schedule to come, those are no's. People who promise on a stack of Bibles, is what he told me. People who promise they will be there, my hand, I swear to God I'm going to be there. Those are maybes. He said, so don't misunderstand the difference. You want commitments from people. He said, when they tell you, when you invite them to your home and they say they're going to be there, he said, ask them this. Is there anything that you can think of that might come up that would cause you to not come? That, by the way, would be very effective here in India. Is there anything that could come up that might cause you to not be there? Because now you're going to find out if there is something. And then you're going to know, are they likely to come or not come? And they say, no, I'm going to be there. And here's the real key question. Okay, great. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Now, will you do me a favor? What's that? If something does come up, will you give me at least a 24-hour notice? Why did he do that? I didn't know at the time, but here's the reason. People come home from work, they're tired, it's been a long day, the kids are whining, their spouse wants them to do something for them, their cricket game is on TV, and now what they're thinking is, oh, I don't feel like going over to Dr. Yoga's home, but I told him that I would give him a 24-hour notice if I couldn't come. All right, let me get ready and go. More people will show up if you ask them to give you a 24-hour notice if they can't make it than if you don't do that. So he taught me the 3 C's. Control yourself from, create curiosity, control yourself from answering questions, get a firm commitment. When you get a firm commitment, ask them if there's anything that would come up that would cause them not to come. Ask them to give you a 24-hour notice. And then one more thing he said. He said, tell them that you're writing it down in your appointment book and ask them if they would write it in their appointment book, just to confirm that it was written down. So he said, okay, now, Todd, here's some very important details of this. He said, between now and tomorrow night, I want you to call and invite 3 people to your home. Will you do that? I said yes. Now think about this. He asked me just 3. This wasn't a big task. He didn't ask me to do something that I was thinking, oh my gosh, how in the world am I ever going to do this? He just gave me a little goal, 3. Can you just call 3 people?